We know that we have a very long life perspective nowadays, but it doesn't mean that we will be fit for longer and that we will live good for longer.
Hello and welcome to the Augmented Self, the podcast where we explore the intricate world of wearable technology and its incredible impact on health and wellness. I'm your host, Jean-Philippe DIEL, on this journey into the fascinating intersection of tech, health, and the human body. Each episode, we plan to delve into thought-provoking discussions with industry professionals, innovators, and thought leaders in the wearable tech space. We'll explore cutting-edge advancements, delve into AI applications, examine the efficiency of metrics, and tackle the very important issue of data privacy. We're here not just to learn, but also to foster a community of tech enthusiasts, wellness advocates, and curious minds. So whether this is the first episode for you or you're a regular listener, we want to hear from you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on this episode. Your feedback shapes our conversation and this rapidly evolving field. Let's stay connected, let's stay informed, and let's venture together into the world of Augmented Self. Now let's dive into today's episode. Our guest today is Marianna Recchia. Marianna is the founder of Tonus Tech, a startup in the UK. Marianna, welcome.
Thank you, Jean-Philippe. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit for our listeners.
Of course. So I am a co-founder of Tonus Tech together with Dimitris and Ahmed. I personally am more the business element of our team. And we met back in London in 2020, and we were attended a company builder that was dedicated to healthy aging and longevity. And Dimi is more a robotics engineer, and Ahmed is our doctor. So we are a mixed team, so with mixed background and competencies, but with one main passion that is healthy aging and longevity. That is really the topic that holds us together.
Right. Can you explain why athletic longevity, what it means and why it is important for you?
Of course. So we decided to use this expression, athletic longevity, because it comes from a very, very good book of Jeff Berkovich, that who is a journalist. And this book is called Play On, and it's a very interesting book because maybe for the first time a few years ago, it mentioned the specific kind of trainings that especially athletes at the end of their career do in order to compete for longer. So of course it's more an expression that is related to professional athletics, but we thought it was a very powerful expression because our idea is that everyone must have the opportunity to stay fit for longer, because it's about quality of life of everyone. So we know that we live for longer. We know that we have a very long life perspective nowadays, but it doesn't mean that we will be fit for longer and that we will live good for longer. So for us, it's very important. We wanted actually to launch via Tonus also a very positive message in the sense like you can take care of your own body like athletes do, because you have really the chance to age in an optimal way and really to keep your strength and your agility for longer, to continue to do the things that you like. So that's an expression that we really like. And actually nowadays, there are other people, other scientists and physicists that use similar kind of expressions. So for example, Peter Attia talks about the centenarian decathlon. That is another very powerful, two powerful words, because it's really about let's set up which kind of goals, what kind of things we want to do when we are 100 years old. And let's go back in time and understand what we have to do in order to reach those kind of goals and stay as we want to be. So as close as we are nowadays. So that's why we wanted to enrich our communication through these very powerful expressions.
What would you say sets you apart from other fitness wearables in this market?
I think it's the focus on longevity, because we actually, in our own lives, so in our own private life, but also back when we were in the company builder and we were developing the concept of Tonus, we tested several kind of wearables. And of course, they are all very effective, but it's a bit like they need another layer of analysis on the top of that. And also, it's not only wearables produce data, but it's really about the kind of training program that you associate to the use of wearable. And currently, we have more and more personal trainers, clinicians that have switched a bit towards suggesting a kind of training that really keeps the body, keeps the energy, the stability, and the strength of the body. So it's about slowing down body decline and not so much like performance. So this is what is very different for us, because we have collaborated from the very beginning with people working in healthcare, so not only medical doctors, but also therapists and any trainer that work on that. And of course, we have seen also how the sports theory has evolved really in the last year. So it's very interesting. And this is where we want to build our own competitive value, our own expertise.
That's very interesting. So you're using AI for movement analysis and coaching, but what you're saying, if I did get this right, is you're not really focused on actual performance, but more about helping people with their body and how it evolves through time.
Exactly. It's just an evolution of the concept of performance, because in our case, even reaching a perfect stability is performance. So it's just another way to intend performance, because we actually work with and we have worked with the sports facilities and people that, for example, do strength training and or CrossFit. But it's a bit different in the sense that there you also have the risk of developing injuries, because sometimes training doesn't really consider your body and your injury risk, let's say like that. So we look at some indexes, so some specific movement metrics that help us to understand what is the best training for each kind of body and to help them to avoid injuries in the long term. So to keep them as stable as possible, keep people as stable as possible. So that's where we see the difference, honestly, because regarding the technology, we also we have developed our own hardware, but we have also used and we still use some widely used hardware, just of course also to test our other technology, take inspiration. So we are not really inventing something new. We are just using the sensory technologies that is out there nowadays, but analyzing the data in another way, and of course making everything as soon as possible usable and a bit cheaper than other systems that are used in clinic environment and academia, for example.
You talked about cheaper, and then you talked about your sort of results, comparing the results. Now, on your website, you talk about how your results are comparable to an expensive lab setup. How does that work? How do you do this comparison? How was that validated?
Of course. So we did our product test in the biomechanics lab of the University of Newcastle. We actually were granted with the Innovate UK grant in the field of healthy aging. And that was really useful because it gave us the possibility to work with the researchers of the University of Newcastle and with the National Center for Innovation in Aging. And while we were developing the product together and the service around the product, we really thought that nowadays it's very important that we don't measure only the activity that people do indoor, But in order to have data that are collected in a continuous way, what we call in horizontal way, so in a longer period of time, it's also important that we have a system that recognizes and classifies the movements also outside. So this is why we decided to start from a sensoric system and not, for example, from video recognition. Movement recognition. But what we did is that in the university, we had that kind of environment. So we had also camera data. We collected both the data with our system and the camera data, and we compared the quality of the results. And we iterated on that. So we can say that nowadays we have a system that has comparable results. This doesn't mean that we will not offer one day, for example, also camera data, because honestly, working with different kind of organizations, we have already noticed that there are different kind of requirements and different kind of setups. So we have started with developing our algorithms and data analysis on our wearable system, but we can also move now that we have the machine learning algorithms and the software, we can also apply that, for example, to other sources of data. So that's for sure. But results are comparable.
Yeah, and we both know where you're thinking about camera data, and that's a topic in mind as well. I mean, we both know the limitations, or talking about smaller units of cameras compared to an actual lab setup, and the costs that are involved in the proper lab setup, and the limitation of being in front of the camera with good lighting, with proper connections.
Absolutely.
That technology will advance, though. It will come closer to us, and then one day maybe we can indeed have it in the phone or in the tablet, or and actually deliver those sorts of benefits.
That's exactly what we think. So we actually think that when the technology will be there, we can also decide to offer this kind of solutions, especially when we talk about gym environment. So fitness classes, for example, personal training inside. But currently, we have decided that this is the best solution for the time being.
Very good. Now, bringing you onto AI and AI coaching, and you talked about machine learning. I mean, what kind of machine learning or what kind of AI are you running? And how's that? You talk on your website about this personalization by experts. Is this reinforced learning filters, or how's that working?
Of course. So first of all, what we have done in AI is that we have worked on some algorithms that are currently used in the field of biomechanics. So we have worked with biomechanic experts, because we have also came across several options, but we had first of all a kind of time and money constraint, and also we had a kind of constraint in terms of
AI
the
is
number
very
of
expensive to train, right?
Correct. So we had trials. So as I said, in the lab, but also outside the lab. But we had a limited number of people, so we couldn't test, for example, the system with 250 people at the time. So we had to build our baseline considering the possibilities that we had, and that's what we reached. What we did is that we had, we collected basically this data, and with our algorithms, we came up with what we call a motion score. So that is quite important for us, because it's not only, we don't want only to provide people and their trainers detailed information on, for example, range of motion or mechanical muscle activities, but it's very important to have some kind of comprehensive measures that help people to, for example, compare with people on the same age or in the same condition. And this is exactly what we wanted to do. And also, I mean, it's not only in terms of comparing opportunities, but we wanted also to simplify the measurements, because not everyone is an expert in biomechanics, and data have to be really synthesized in a way that could be used in different kind of environments. So this was, we have done a lot of effort. So somehow we have done a kind of parallel effort from the user experience point of view, and on the back, from the algorithm point of view, trying to find a compromise that would be some kind of clear measurements and clear actionable insights, because we also wanted to have a score that is not just there to indicate if a person is better or worse than someone else, but it generates some kind of tips to help people to reach their goals. So, for example, one of our important thing, what we call AI coach, is basically a series of exercises, so an exercise program that we can tailor for each kind of body. And for that, we have the huge help from two of our advisors that are professional trainers with a specific expertise in training of people 50 plus, and let's say athletic longevity science. And that has been very important because these people have basically looked at the recording of our data, and in particular of the avatar that we have, and they have scored those data, really scored manually, in order then to help us to create the algorithms. So we have done a long job, so a kind of very intensive job with them in order to come up with this motion score. And of course, the next step, thanks. No, for next step for us is to have a kind of explainable AI, in the sense of having improved the accuracy, have a consistency in the data. So this is why we are searching for more pilots. So we are currently really in the phase of searching for further pilot customers in different kind of context, because we also need different clusters of people. So people with and without medical condition, people in different age brackets, in order to have a bit of kind of data stability across all these variables. And of course, also limiting the amount of variables that we can have, because we do it incrementally. So we built our software incrementally.
Yeah. No, you touched on something that I'm very sensitive to as well. This manual annotation, we're working on a similar field. The movement is such a thing, yet you can have, joint angles and all sorts of data metrics about the quantitative aspects of movement, but the qualitative aspects of movements are equally important. And that's where the annotation by an expert is making a whole difference. I want to bring you a bit further onto that digital twin avatar that you were talking about.
Yeah.
You're using that to visualize key movement metrics, right? So how does that help? How does that visualization help users in their fitness journey?
This helps not only the final users, but as we have done when we were scoring the movement, it helps firstly the professional, so the expert, because honestly, let's say one thing. So of course, experts are used to see body moving and to judge if a movement is executed in the right way or in the wrong way. But they don't have all the elements to understand if people have some joint problems, and if it's a persistent joint problem, and they need a kind of further support, further help to be sure about their analysis. So we have chosen, so when we started, we have chosen exercises that usually belong to a functional movement assessment test. That helped us a lot, because we have then created an avatar that helped professionals really to see, to judge movement, in particular to look at movement through different repetitions. That is another thing we needed for our AI model. So several repetitions of the same movements across a certain amount of time, so in more sessions. And the avatar really helped them actually to have a further and in-depth look on how people were moving, if they were improving or getting worse. And so this is one of the primary use. Regarding the final user, when we tested the avatar, what we noticed is that, first of all, for the proprioception, in terms of proprioception, is very, very important for people to have a reference while they do the exercise, because currently, of course, they look at their trainer, But it's really a kind of revealing experience, looking themselves mirrored and really seeing, okay, I'm moving and this is what I'm doing. And having the trainer that say, look at this, look at that part, look at that. And we can also have the possibility, for example, to focus on a specific area of the body. So that was also quite interesting. So helping people even more on focusing and concentrated on the movement, for example, of their knee and or their ankle movements. And one other thing is people can watch the repetition of the movement after the execution. So can watch the recording. This is also quite interesting. I mean, of course, it's something that currently just professionals do. But I think especially when it means we come to rehabilitation and therapy, I think it's not bad. It's not bad actually to watch repetitions because people can see, can notice, for example, if there are some problems during the exercise, can see when they feel pain, how they move. This is another thing because we have also actually included a pain score in our application. It's quite important because we compare the pain feeling with how people move. So it's a kind of important, really revealing experience for them. I mean, it has been for me, myself, because I'm not aware so much about how I move. So I'm not used, and it's just, I've started personal training just 2 years ago. And I'm really learning to understand a bit better how my body and which are also the limits of my body. So we wanted to give as many feedbacks as possible. Of course, one other, currently the avatar is the easiest thing for us to develop because some software some biomechanics software give us also the possibility of producing an avatar. But we have also worked on the possibility of using haptic feedback. So to give also haptic feedback to the people, because one thing we noticed that not every brain also work in the same way. So there are people who don't want visual inputs. That's also quite important. So there are some people that, for example, are more sensitive to be touched. So for example, by the trainer. And haptic feedback is also kind of new powerful feature of wearables of the future. So this is another thing also that we focus our attention on, but maybe we will not integrate at first in our system because it requires a very good design of the garment. And of course, maybe, I mean, you know very, very well, Jean-Philippe, all the complications that smart garments have. And so we are somehow trying to limit the complexity as much as possible.
Of course. Just a few things. You talked about how the people were looking at their avatar, and then all of this though were in the frame of a research in a lab. Am I correct?
No, we collaborated actually with a fitness facility that is called Strong for Life.
Okay.
That is quite important because
I was going to come to that. Yeah, very
because
good.
The lab is not enough. So of course a lab is a lab, and there is one thing: people in the lab come, but they don't come with the background of their routine. So we wanted to have a further test in a place where people are used to come, they trust their trainers, they have a certain exercise program. So it was very important for us, but also, of course, from a TRL, so technology readiness level point of view, we needed to test the system in a relative environment. So we did this.
But then you brought the lab to the gym.
Correct. We brought the lab to the gym. Of course, we simplified again. We simplified the system. That was very important because we are coming more and more to a system that can be used independently from us. So it's not a research set or pilot set, but is a real wearable that people can just wear and generates data. So we simplified the system. We spent some time. We actually got also support by a European grant that is called DIH Robotics in Healthcare. Super important because we had also the support of the Danish Technology Institute again. We collaborated already with them with the Odense Robotics, and that helps because also that gym was already used to use technologies for the sake of the analysis of fitness longevity. So they had some other tests already, so also the trainers were aware. So it was a very interesting set for a pilot, because we didn't have to train the trainers so much. So especially the manager, Ole, was super engaged already. So he was actually co-designing with us the new system, so the upgraded system we used, and the results we wanted to obtain, the exercise programs. And we conducted the test, so now we have the results, and we are still working on the data generated, actually. And we will go then this summer to other facilities from this summer on, so to have further tests. So we really need those until the end of the year to consolidate the system. Yeah.
So there are several markets, right? I mean, you're talking about gym, connected fitness companies now.
Yeah.
We talked about rehab earlier on as well. So I imagine there are very much a target as well. Academia, senior living. How do you tailor your solutions to these very markets?
In several ways. So let's start from the message. So the communication, the message, and the goal that we can obtain via our solution in these different kind of environments are different. So we are even training, adapting the message, because we are understanding which are their requirements. And this help also us to create a solution that, for example, in some cases, enhances their compliance. So if people offer specific training programs and people have, and their insurance pay for that, they expect a certain kind of return on that investment. So compliance is very important. Or another part is motivation. So some companies want to use such a system because it helps really members to stick to the program, to stay there, to, let's say, reinforce their trust in the organization. So this is also something different. And we have, for example, senior living, where actually it's quite interesting, because there are the senior living facilities that we are contacting. These are very new. So in the sense that they test new kind of fitness programs, and it's quite important there really also to launch that kind of innovation, so age tech message. One other thing is that, of course, not every facility, not every organization wants to measure the same things. So, for example, the more clinic we go, and the more they want really specific measurements that very, very, very precise and collected in a long period of time. So, fitness training facilities, they want a wider range of metrics also, because in some cases they want to get this data from different kind of sports, different kind of training modalities. And instead, when we go to rehabilitation, is maybe a focus on a certain area, or on certain very, very precise, for example, data related to the range of motion. So they are very selective. And so also in that case, we are adapting the software and the level of detail of what we can collect. Last thing that we are adapting is the business model, because again, fitness facilities usually are not ready to pay a huge subscription for this kind of systems. So there we are trying to create a kind of basic subscription where they get, for example, a few amount of systems that they receive, they buy with the subscription, and then they can provide to the customers. So they use the same system in different sessions, but people can, for example, buy their own leggings and just then attach the sensor, so in the pockets. And instead, for example, when we talk about clinical facilities, then the amount of, let's say, software feature, application features, data hosting is completely different. And then, for example, the subscription could be a bit more cost intensive. So we are trying to adapt. So one important thing now is we wanted at least to classify these three buckets of three markets, and verify the modality, so the possibility of working with them. And of course, our goal is also to go more and more from wellness and fitness to healthcare. So I think the trajectory will be that. And senior living will be one of the next pilots
Excellent.
for sure.
Excellent. I want to bring you on to a topic that it's a little bit of my hobby topic. You're collecting data from these people and you're training in AI, etc., etc. How secure is this, and what are your views on the data privacy? Because health and fitness data obviously is extremely sensitive.
Of course. So first of all, so the algorithms are created on anonymized data. So what I mean is, in particular, when we talk about the motion score, so how we create the motion score is based on anonymized data. So people, in the sense that we, is usually you don't indicate the name of a person. So for us, people are codes, and for the facilities, people are names. So of course, we don't save those kind of very personal data. This is something that I know very well because I have
somewhere there's a database with the code and a name, or
exactly. So there is, of course, we host the data on the cloud, but then of course they get associated from the client side to the name, and so they get a dashboard, and this is quite important. So we don't store anything that is personal, but of course we need to store the data for our algorithms, but completely anonymized. As I said, usually because I come from automotive, where the topic about data privacy is very, very important. So I've been long trained in this kind of data anonymization, also for large scale of data, and dealt a lot with legal departments, but in different countries, because of course it's not only GDPR in Europe, so different legislations. So that is for sure. And then of course also the preference of where the data are hosted. So where is the cloud solution located? So that's also all very important. Honestly, we are at the very beginning. But maybe one important thing is that 2 of our investors are in cybersecurity. They have helped us so much. They are the 2 investors actually with a very good experience from one side on data infrastructure, so to help us to understand which is the best system to purchase and how to create the architecture around the data that we store, but also on all cybersecurity issues. And so they are on our back really to support in our decision, because of, as I said, maybe we have some experience. Excellent. But we need some kind of guarantee, and in some cases also the solution of the companies where they work for are also quite important for us for the integrated in our product.
Yeah, very good. I want to zoom out a little bit, and obviously we're in a really fast changing pace in this field. So with all these advancements, and we've recently seen big moves in AI and wearable tech, there's a lot of more hardware and then smaller, more nimble, more patches and things that are coming. What sort of transformation and disruptions do you anticipate for the world of health and fitness, rehabilitation and longevity?
Yes, so two different things. So from one side, we have worked a lot with hardware. So especially, so now, as I was mentioning, we are in a kind of trajectory towards simplification of our system. But at the beginning, we tested a lot. So one of our aim is one day to integrate all the sensor technologies inside the garment. So we had the opportunity to collaborate together with a company that is called Conductive Transfer, so to basically embed all the electronics inside textile, and with the Smart Textile Alliance, that is an organization that helped us to find the right tech in order to create a kind of wireless system, a wired system, the wireless is what we have now. We are bringing now to our clients, but let's say a wired system. So in the sense that our prototype, so the prototype that we tested in Newcastle, for example, had everything connected. So all the sensors were connected. There was just one hub for the battery and the main PCB. but basically we had all the sensors distributed and connected. And we also did several different kind of tests of conductive ink and let's say alternative technology, more or less sustainable at the Danish Technology Institute. So we have those prototypes. What we found out is that this is something that still needs to be developed further. In particular, I really foresee that it will be all easier when the value chain of all the components that we use from assembling to serious manufacturing aligns itself, because currently it's very, very hard. So the numbers don't align, the business case is hardcore. It's difficult to do what we intend to do, especially if you use more sensors. So if you don't use only one type of sensors, distributed sensor. This is one thing. It's very important. We also tested, according to our very initial proposition, we actually tested artificial muscles, because now one thing that I really, really foresee is the possibility to integrate in textile active and passive actuators. So when I mean actuators, when I say actuator, I mean really a structure that can support a little bit movement, so facilitate stretch. Exactly. So let's say exactly. So stretching or expanding systems that can support a little bit the movement. And regarding similar technology, we actually integrated, and we have a patent also for the use of stretch sensor assembled to our system, and this is mainly for the muscle activity. So I see that there are, let's say in general, I summarize, there are some technologies that are proper of new smart textiles, and there are technologies that come from robotics that could really be assembled in the wearable of the future one day. So I see that it's coming in few years, but we have to bear with it. We have really to persevere, and we will get there. This is one thing. The other thing, and I think you will agree with me, Jean-Philippe, it's very difficult nowadays to have single systems. So we were talking about patches, for example. There are several super interesting technologies related to, for example, glucose monitoring, and these are super integrable. So it would be very interesting if we could integrate them in our system, because I think there should be an interface between wearables. So according to the use case, so if you are working, for example, in an environment for people affected by diabetes, for example, or people after stroke that maybe have difficulties in moving, so you should use several kind of sensors and let's say customize this kind of sensor solution according to the use case. This is what I wished for the future. And of course, you are in Web3, so any other, let's say, collateral system that help people to have more security on their data, help people actually to get incentivized with the movement. Even Web3 in healthcare that doesn't exist so much nowadays. So we wish to collaborate with more companies, because no company of wearable nowadays would exist alone by itself, or even companies working in AI and fitness. It will be not possible to continue like that. So I really wish more and more to strengthen this kind of collaboration, even both for a commercial solution but also in research, honestly. Yeah.
That's great. Totally aligned with that in my head. I guess we're getting to the end of this podcast. I just want to ask you where you are and where Tonus Tech is in terms of commercial readiness. Are there any milestones or future projects that you're particularly excited about?
Yes. So until the end of the year, we will complete at least other 2 projects with companies. As I said, one it will be for sure in senior living. There are very interesting perspectives there. We want to understand the environment more. We want to understand these new solutions, and we would like to collaborate with smart experts that are currently participating in those projects. So yes, this for sure. And of course, also, how I said, maybe at least one test that is more in a clinic, so in collaboration with the clinic for a specific use case, because currently we are investigating mobility in general. So we really would like to tailor our solution, start to tailor our solution for specific use case, just to test this. So this, at least these other 2 pilots will come. This is our plan until the end of the year. And the idea is to get at the beginning of the year the system ready to be shipped, or at least for the first, let's say, basic subscriptions that we will offer. So our basic software solution, our basic hardware solution, and to start revenues, because as you know very well that the investment environment is quite hard at the moment. And we really need to bring more evidences to show the validity of the product, to show that we have a market. So it's quite important for us to accelerate just the last part of our development, really the last milestones. So more the further iteration of the ML model, further iteration on the hardware to have this leggings ready to be shipped, or in alternative, some kind of striped sensor solution that are very easy to wear. And then, of course, complete at least the first side of the interface with the first milestone of the AI coach. So this is what we are really working hard to do, from pilot to pilot, from grant to grant, and in a continuous collaboration with our internal and external collaborator, because we have also several supporters that are really helping us to build this product. So hopefully it will come.
Exciting.
We will do it.
It will come. It will come. I can feel the passion. It's very exciting.
Yes.
And, Marianna, it's been such a pleasure learning about
Thank
Tonus
you.
Tech today. I'm really glad. Any last thoughts, or word of wisdom, or anything you would like to share with our listeners?
Come to me if you have a feedback or a question regarding what I do, and I would really love one day to collaborate
Definitely
with you and SymbionIQ, because I think that we have so much touch points, as we said, that we will be powerful together.
There's a reason we're aligned
Exactly.
in many things. Don't worry, there's some sort of karma happening there. Well, thank you so much, and you take care. I wish you the best for Tonus Tech, and we'll be in touch anyway. And thank you to our listeners.
Thank you so much, and thank you to our listeners.
Bye-bye.
Bye.